Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of the Unholy DK DPS guide for World of Warcraft Cataclysm Patch 4.2. In this part of the guide, we're going to be covering a really in-depth look at the DPS rotation, as well as just some really cool little nifty tricks and mechanics that you may or may not have known, and a DPS test by moi. So, let's go ahead and jump right in. Our rotation, like every other class in the game, is not a rotation, it's a priority order. And that priority basically follows this. Keep your diseases up. You start transformation the second it procs if you have an unholy rune or death rune. Use all unholy and death runes with Scorch Strike / Death and Decay. If it's an AoE fight, like I was discussing in part 1 with hard mode Rylith, or if it's a fight where the target's going to stay stationary for a long period of time, like Ragnaros, Phase 2, and Rylith or Bethalock, something like that, it's really going to be beneficial to lay down Death and Decay, because one full duration Death and Decay is going to hit harder than the combined shadow damage and normal damage of a Scorch Strike. So rune for rune, provided you're getting the full duration, use Death and Decay on cooldown if you can. So on the dummy test, I'm obviously going to be using it as often as possible. One Blood Rune and one Frost Rune active, use Festering Strike. If you have more than one of either, just wait it out and get your second Festering Strike in. So, for example, I have 2 Blood Runes and a Frost Rune up. I'm going to Festering Strike, fill in the gap with Horn of Winter, Scorch Strike, Death Coil, whatever I can, and I'm just going to wait it out until that second Frost Rune gets off cooldown, and I'm going to Festering Strike again. So that's your priority order. Diseases, start transformation, Scorch Strike / Death and Decay, Festering Strike. There you go. Now, there's a really nifty little trick that I've picked up. I'm sure it's probably all over the internet, but I still feel like I found it first. So, get off my back. Basically, what it is it's a little nifty trick with blood tap. For example, I've often found myself in this situation where my runes don't line up correctly because of the rapid recharge rate that Unholy gives us. And I had all death runes and unholy runes, and I was just Scorch Striking the hell out of the target. But I have to mix in some death coils, I have to do some moving, whatever it may be. And my rune cooldowns don't end up the way I want. And I'll end up having 2 Blood Runes and 1 Frost Rune. This is only a trick, quote unquote, when you have 2 Blood Runes and a Frost Rune. And what it is basically you can Death Strike or you can Festering Strike, which would leave you with only 1 Blood Rune on cooldown, and your Frost Rune is still coming off cooldown. You can hit Blood Tap, causing your other Blood Rune to become a Death Rune. And you can hit Festering Strike again, so you would then have a Death Rune, Death Rune, Death Rune. And this rune that was a Frost Rune, for whatever reason, it registers and it anticipates, and it too becomes a Death Rune. Alright, now watch, I'm going to use 2 Scorch Strikes, 1 Festering Strike, and an Icy Touch, just so that I have that 1 Blood Rune on cooldown. When that happens, I'll have 1 Blood Rune off cooldown, so what's going to happen is I'm going to immediately hit Blood Tap and do another Festering Strike, and you'll see that even though that rune's on cooldown, it will become a Death Rune while it's on cooldown. So let me show you what I mean. 2 Scorch Strikes, Festering, right there. So it's a nifty little trick. It's something that's worth knowing, because you ever get in that situation and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I've only got 1 Blood Rune active, and that Frost Rune's got a ton of time on its cooldown. What do I do? You can do something about it. If Blood Tap's up, hit it, Festering Strike again, it will become an Unholy Rune, just as if you had used that rune as part of the Festering Strike. Just random little knowledge. Alright, now let's take a deeper look at the more specialized, if you will, rotation in where I use my cooldowns and how I use them. My personal rotation. I'm going to pre-pot and use Berserking before the fight. For the dummy, I'll just go through it with the dummy. I'm going to pre-pot and use my Berserking. I'm going to lay down Death and Decay, start my timer, It is 2 Festerings, 1 Scourge Strike, and because I used that Death and Decay earlier, every rune's on cooldown. By this time, I will have enough for Summon Gargoyle. So I will instantly hit Empower Rune Weapon, because it's off the global cooldown, followed by my Trinket, which will use Unholy Frenzy and Gargoyle. And then from there, I just Scourge Strike until I run out of runes. Or unless I get a sudden Doom proc, I Scourge Strike my balls off. Pretty simple. Something you need to know with using Summon Gargoyle. If you're familiar with Unholy and Wrath, we still have that crappy little glitch where if you use Unholy or Summon Gargoyle while in melee range, the dumbass isn't going to do anything. So what you need to do is as you summon your Gargoyle, you need to jump, turn around, summon him, and turn back. I will jump, summon, and turn back all in one motion. It's something you'll get the hang of. Now, back to my rotation. It's simple enough, you know. Pre-pot, use my Berserking, Death and Decay, 2 Festerings, 1 Scourge, Empower Rune Weapon, jump, turn, summon Gargoyle, Scourge Strike my nuts off. If I get a sudden Doom proc, use it. And then from there, that's basically my burst. We don't have really, really high burst as Unholy. Unfortunately, we're not Frost Death Knights, but we have really, really good sustained DPS, and we perform very well in fights with movement. I will definitely underperform on the dummy compared to Frost. Not by a huge margin, but, you know, 1k or so. Don't take the dummy test as the final word. Just with Rep Pallies and Fury Warriors, we will perform much better in a raid environment, in a dungeon environment. You know, when we're able to use AMS to get runic power, we're able to use our full mechanics, stuff like that. We're going to perform better in a group. But it's worth noting that Unholy has definitely changed the way I look at playing the class. I used to be, you know, balls to the wall, Frost Death Knight, love the spec. I still do. It's a great spec. But Unholy just really has a certain viability in Firelands. It's really, really nifty. If you prefer the spec, but you didn't play it because Frost Death Knights, you know, are top in meters, you don't have to fill it anymore. We have come back. We have made a comeback. We are a viable spec worthy of play, and you should play the class, especially if you enjoy it, and especially if you you know how to play it well from previous expansions and whatnot. All right, that in mind, let's go ahead and gear up for my dummy test. I will be doing this with my 300 strength flask and my 90 strength food. Past that, I have no other outside buffs. This I'll be using a dummy with no other person's debuffs, you know, just for the sake of being fair about it. Let's see what this looks like. Pulling in 3, 2, 1 pre-pot. Here we go. 2 Festerings, Scourge, Empower, Jump Turn. Use my proc. Spam Scourge Strike like a crazy person. If you're worried you're going to get capped, start using Death Coil to get some of that runic power down. I didn't mention this. I didn't think I needed to. You do this in Unholy Presence, not Frost Presence. Frost Presence is bad. Go ahead, throw Death and Decay down again. See, I just used that little Death Strike, that little Blood Tap trick, because I had a Frost Rune on cooldown, a Blood Rune off cooldown. So, I just used Blood Tap, Festering Strike, and that Frost Rune that was still on cooldown became a Death Rune. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and use, there we go. And what I really like about Unholy is the way you can manage your diseases much easier. Because Festering Strike is such a primary part of the rotation, it's really simple to maintain your buffs. Like, I've got plenty of time left on my diseases, yet, you know, I've got Outbreak back up. I don't have to worry about ever Plague Striking again in my life. It's just, it's a really nifty spec, and I've definitely gained some respect for it this patch. Alright. Now before I do my next Festering Strike, I'm going to go ahead and just reapply Outbreak, just to get the most out of that Festering Strike. See, that time what I did is the way I used my blood tap is I had all death runes, and the way the recharge rate on these death runes and any rune works is, you know, right after you use it, it's just gonna start on its cooldown. And because I used this death rune, the very first one, it goes from left to right for me. I knew that after immediately using that death rune, which is normally a blood rune, I was gonna be able to blood tap and immediately use another one right on top of it, stacked right on top. So it's a nice little trick to understand the way that your runes recharge and stuff like that. So I can get that. And if you put 2 points into improve blood tap, it's really nice to have it on that 30-second cooldown timer, and don't be afraid to use it. It's basically a free Squid strike. It's definitely a nice additive to the spec. Alright, we are 3 minutes in. I'm going to go ahead and use my Berserking because I don't want it to stack up with my Unholy Frenzy. And I've got 38 seconds before my next trinket can proc, my next strength trinket. So I'm just going to hold off on summoning my gargoyle until I get that proc. Once I get that proc, I'll pop all my cooldowns, I'll use my second potion, all that good stuff. I just used Outbreak again because my diseases were getting kind of low, so you might as well use it when you got it. Oh, there's my trinket proc, so let's see if I can get enough RP in here. There we go. Jump and turn every time you summon that gargoyle if you're on the dummy. I have to do more testing to see how it works out on bosses, but it's not going to hurt you to jump and turn on a boss, I guarantee you that. If it's going to make a difference, I would just play it safe and do it. Do Outbreak. Alright, we've got 30 seconds left in this test, and we can call it good for the day. Once this death rune finish off the charge, I'm gonna hit blood tap and just immediately use it again. Alright, let's get ready to report this. And report. Alright, there you have it. 5-minute test. Again, Unholy will underperform slightly, very slightly on a dummy. You know, 5.5k or 5.5 million damage and 18k, it's pretty decent. But in a raid setting, man, let me tell you, Unholy is just gonna overperform. It will exceed your expectations. It plays amazingly well, very smooth. Great for disease management. Great on the RP generation with anti-magic shell. Anti-magic zone is a nice raid-wide cooldown. It's a very fun spec, and I advise you guys roll it. But there you guys have it. That is my knowledge on Unholy Death Knights. If there's anything I did not cover that you want to know, please leave a comment. Shoot me a message. I'd be happy to help you. I love to help you guys. That's why I do these videos. So leave a comment, rate it, thumbs up, tell your friends, tell your guildies, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for taking your time watching my video. Hopefully you saw part 1. It may have answered any questions you had on stats, specs, my add-ons, my macros, all that good stuff. But again, thank you for taking your time to watch my video. As always, this is Draven from the US Burning Legion server. You guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next vid.